curious. You know the feeling. You're walking down the street and suddenly your leg buzzes. You reach into your pocket, entirely expecting to pull out your phone, but it's empty. That phantom vibration is a symptom of a much larger reality. The average person checks their device 96 times a day. That works out to roughly once every 10 minutes. Each of those 96 daily checks serves as a repetitive neurological experiment the brain runs on itself. This cycle of scrolling points to an evolutionary disconnect between our original survival instincts and the demands of modern technology. At the core of this disconnect is your brain's reward system. Right in the center sits a small region called the nucleus accumbens. You can think of it as your brain's internal applause meter. When that meter registers something good, it triggers the release of dopamine. We often mistake dopamine for the chemical of happiness, but its actual job is anticipation. It's the wanting chemical, the chase chemical. It motivates you to seek out a reward. For 200,000 years, this anticipatory system had a single purpose, driving us toward difficult survival goals. It pushed early humans to hunt, to forage, and to build communities. Your biology evolved to handle challenges that required intense effort. It was never designed to process a device that effortlessly triggers this ancient survival circuit every 10 minutes. Tech platforms understand exactly how this hardware works, and they exploit it using a psychological principle known as the variable reward schedule. When you pull down to refresh your social media feed, you are performing the exact same physical action as pulling the lever on a casino slot machine. You don't know what you'll get. Sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes you hit the jackpot with a viral post, a compliment, or exciting news. That sheer unpredictability causes a much more aggressive dopamine spike than a guaranteed outcome. If the reward was certain, your brain would adapt and stop caring. Our tech habits emerge from precise behavioral engineering, rather than a personal lack of willpower. To see the true physical impact of this technology, we have to look at the most active construction site in the known universe, an infant's brain. In the first 2 years of life, a baby builds 1 million new neural connections every single second. Those connections rely on a process called serve and return. It's like a game of neural tennis. A baby smiles, a parent responds with a change in facial expression or tone of voice, and the infant's brain wires itself based on that unpredictable back-and-forth human interaction. Replace that dynamic human face with a glowing screen. The screen is rigid. It never reacts to the child. It demands constant attention while teaching the developing brain that stimulation is entirely passive. This timeline charts the specific cognitive changes tied to early screen exposure. By age 2, the data shows premature specialization in visual processing networks. By age 8, children exhibit slower reaction times and decision-making. And by age 13, they show significantly higher rates of anxiety. There is a proven scientific countermeasure. Studies show that reading to a child frequently by age 3 can actually partially reverse these neural changes. The antidote is, and always was, a human being. A screen placed in front of a 6-month-old acts as a major intervention in a critical biological construction window. Adult brains are fully constructed, but they follow a rule called neuroplasticity. Your brain physically adapts to whatever environment it experiences most often. When researchers look at heavy social media users, they find decreased gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's control center for decision-making and long-term planning. It is exactly the same neural region affected by chronic substance abuse. This split-screen brainwave readout measures impulse control. On the left is a healthy baseline. On the right, after a user spends just 2 hours scrolling short-form video, beta wave activity in the prefrontal cortex plummets by 35%. This explains the modern struggle to sit down and read a book. The scrolling brain has been trained to expect a new dopamine hit every 4 to 8 seconds. When you force it to process text at the slower pace of normal human thought, your brain essentially experiences withdrawal. People haven't suddenly lost their intelligence. They have simply allowed their internal hardware to be optimized for shallow distraction instead of deep focus. We live in the most connected era of human history, yet we are seeing a strange divergence between digital reach and actual human connection. Real empathy relies on physical data. To activate the empathy networks in your brain, you need cues like tone of voice, direct eye contact, and subtle body language shifts. When you strip away all those biological cues and communicate through a digital text box, the brain is left blind. In the absence of physical data, our neural default is to project threat and hostility onto the other person. By stripping away the biological signals required for empathy, social media defaults the brain to a state of hostility, eroding our capacity to understand one another. But neuroplasticity works in both directions. Data shows that after just 30 days of reduced screen use, the brain exhibits a measurable recovery in alpha wave activity. You can rebuild the hardware. The first protocol involves protecting your waking mind. For the first 30 minutes after you wake up, your brain is in a highly malleable state. Keeping screens away during this window allows your cognition to settle on its own terms. Next, you have to break the slot machine loop. Check your apps at strictly designated times rather than reacting to every notification. This removes the variable reward schedule and gives your prefrontal cortex time to recalibrate. You can also use somatic check-ins to interrupt the automatic urge to scroll. Notice physical tension in your jaw, or if your breathing becomes shallow. Use those subtle physical signals to pause and close the app. Finally, ruthlessly curate your feed to eliminate accounts that trigger social comparison, and actively replace passive scrolling with analog experiences. Take a walk, read, or have a real conversation. These habits function as necessary biological protocols for reclaiming ownership of your own mind. The technology itself functions as a tool that either serves the user or dictates their behavior. Your brain isn't broken. When you find yourself endlessly scrolling, your biology is functioning perfectly. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do, seeking connection, searching for information, and pursuing a reward. The question is, who is in charge of designing those rewards? You have to decide whether you will dictate the terms of your own reality or surrender your attention to a profitable algorithm.